and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM, Facebook, and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, assessing and addressing allegations of corruption within the teaching profession. In the second watch, the animation industry, realities and opportunities. For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on the confession of some teachers to making adjustments to SBA assignments for students to earn better passes? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag, The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I Quote.
This morning's I Quote. Can it be a mistake that stressed is desserts spelled backwards? Suzanne Mitchell?
Good morning, Chavani.
Good morning, Graham. How are you?
I am not stressed right now. Have you ever been stressed, my brother?
I have.
Yeah, some people say that they're too blessed to be stressed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's quite a notion.
Well, how do you handle it, though? Because on the ear, you don't sound stressed at all.
No. I mean, music is good. When it hits you, feel no pain.
Especially soca music.
I know.
The first watch will be back after this break.
From the day the best dressed chicken is hatched, it is fed right with a healthy diet of grains, seeds, and corn. Jamaica's only chicken raised with no antibiotics ever. For years, the best dressed chicken has been innovating to achieve this very important promise and commitment to you and your family. Look for our no antibiotics ever promise on every package.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live Online Banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here's somewhere you can share it. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, from a recent article in The Gleaner entitled Teachers at the Center of Corruption Blame COVID, it was reported that with their own reputations and that of their schools on the line, many teachers have been making significant adjustments to school-based assessments for CSEC candidates to ensure good pass rates. Now, in some quarters, it's being seen as corruption within the teaching profession. What exactly is going on? How did we get there? And how do we address such allegations? Well, to discuss these and other related issues, we have online Mr. Jasford Gabriel, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, and Mr. Linvern Wright, President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. Toussaint. How are you doing? Jasford,
I am well, and you?
Yeah, morning, Dylan. Morning, Linvern. Morning to the listeners.
Yeah, man. Good to have you both with us. Well, gentlemen, what are your initial reactions to that newspaper report? And what are your main concerns in that regard? Beginning with you, Mr. Gabriel.
Okay, so would have been quite disappointed to learn of that. We all understand what is happening on account of the COVID-19 pandemic as far as teaching and learning is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that teachers generally are very passionate about having their students being the best that they can be and doing the best that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Jamaica Teachers Association is always supporting professionalism, and part of that is honesty. And so, despite the challenges, we cannot support teachers assisting students in the way that it was reported. Albeit, Dylan, when we did our survey, you're talking about a small, very, very small percentage of our teachers would have been found to be involved in engaging that kind of exercise. And
what figure you have there, Mr. Gabriel, from your perspective? What's the percentage?
You're talking about just high school teachers, because that's where SPAs are relevant, and we have over 20,000 members, and so I have not. The searches we have found have come up with less than 50. I'm not saying that's the final number, but it's based on whatever information we could gather.
Sorry, for clarification, less than 50 what? Teachers?
Yes.
Oh, teachers.
Right.
I'm just saying in terms of percentage, though, of the teachers that would...
that would be less. That would be less than 1%. Yeah, because
okay.
you're talking about several thousand teachers, over 12,000. But at the high school level. Right, and so the bigger principle though is that both for the students' sake and for the sake of national development, and the goals that we are looking at for sustainable development, we want students to display the skills and competencies that they do possess, not skills and competencies that are necessarily maybe fabricated. And so, even if it means it's going to require further time on task, whether it's through some grade retention or whatever other means of intervention, essentially we support that. Time has to be given to support the process of fairness and for the students to acquire the skills that are necessary to function in the 21st century.
Mr. Wright, your initial reactions to the article?
Good morning. I mean, if a teacher figures that is how they have to help in a pandemic, I think they've misinterpreted the role. I don't believe that a pandemic becomes an excuse for doing something like that. And as a principal's association, that's something that we totally are against. I think there are systems within, our education apparatus that people can really use to address some of those things. I think Jasford and myself, we have been making good advocacy on behalf of both teachers and principals and our schools to ensure that whatever extensions are needed, teachers would have got them. So we find that highly disappointing. Maybe there is something more than that you could say about it, but I find it very disappointing, and it's something I would never ever support.
Well, we're talking about SBAs. For those who don't know or may have forgotten, what really is the SBA, Mr. Gabriel?
Well, the SBA takes administers three components to the external examinations. The paper 1, which is a multiple choice, paper 2 written, and paper 3 is the school-based assessment portion, which generally is done in groups. students can come together to complete a SBA. It also has practical components to it. And so that's the school-based assessment part. And we should also be guided that since last year, CXC has been doing 100% center moderation. And so the grades that are assigned by the teachers will not be the final grades anyway, because CXC will have their own assessors to review the samples and to make the adjustments where necessary. If you recall last year, this matter came up as a cause for concern as well, because when the grades were moderated, some issues were found in terms of discrepancy. Not all the times when issues are found in terms of discrepancy, it will necessarily have to be any attempt of dishonesty. It means that maybe in terms of the standards and they are not clearly maybe understood, and so on, and so adjustments can be made either upwards or downwards. But this latest development is something that, like I've said before, and Lynn Verne has said, it's not something that we can ever support.
I'm looking on the article right now, and there's a section of it which states that a St. Catherine-based teacher noted that fixing up the SBAs for students is not just a COVID-19 thing, as historically her school gets the low-performing students from the primary school exit examination. And she lamented that over the years, the performance of the students on SBAs has got worse. Mr. Wright, she's saying that this is not a COVID-19 thing necessarily. It's going on years before.
And if that's the case, it's still something to be condemned. And the other thing, even the response you got that, over the years, SBA performances have got worse. It is showing you that what really those students need is for you to teach them. We just have to find a way in the education system to teach them to address that. What has really happened, and it is something that has really spanned education systems across the world, where we become so examination-oriented that we forget that what really addresses competence is teaching. You can't address competence in an examination. So you actually say, okay, it's exam that I'm going to deal with, and all the work comes in at the exam end. But if the child was not taught properly, if it is that you never had the background, I mean, those teachers just need to understand. I think they're working with such a misconception. If it is that students come to you with such problems, it is not your fault. You might have a responsibility to attempt to try to fix it, but you can't fix it by doing the work for them. You can fix it by trying to teach. So it may be that, for example, in 2021, when they have an examination today, they might not be ready for the examination in 2021. But if, as a good teacher, you spend some time and actually did the kind of background work to fill the gaps in the skills that many of the kids never had and the competencies, then maybe 2 years down the line at come college or at some other program, they could get it. That's the work that we have to do. And I think we have to do more work, Jasford and many of us, in helping our teachers to understand very clearly that your role is not about students passing examinations and not blaming the rest of society. But if you notice, for example, when discussions come up, and I want to put my rider in, that the pressures of examination are not to be a basis for any kind of dishonesty or whatever to go on, whether it's just a few percent or it's a whole lot. But the point I want to make is that our society itself has become so results-driven, so examination-driven, that even if you notice our discussions about education have most to do and become much more louder when CXC results are out or PEP results are out or PEP examination.
And tell you what, Mr. Wright, could you just hold that thought, please? We're going to take a break and be right back.
No problem.
Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Banana Board is
7:15 on the Sound of Love.
We will. 2 words that show our unwavering determination and dictate our actions. Because at Digicel, we value you like family. So here are our 5 promises to you. We will provide you with the very best LTE and broadband experience. We will be by your side 24/7, responding to your queries within seconds. We will be transparent. None of them hidden charges or tricky terms and conditions, Tindy. We will bring digital experiences you can love with great apps, entertaining content, and affordable data bundles. We We will listen to your feedback and reward your loyalty. We will and we must, because together we are so much better. Digicel, better together.
The world has changed drastically. Are you ready to face it? The University of the West Indies, the Caribbean's #1 university, can get you ready. Because while everyone else is trying to adapt, we are ready to prepare you for what lies ahead. So secure your future by investing in yourself and make your dreams the next big thing with a degree from the UWI Mona. Apply today at mona.uwi.edu.
Entrepreneurs, now you've got more support in your corner. Introducing Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center, where entrepreneurs benefit from free training in business management, financial support and guidance from pros, as well as research capabilities. Sagicor Bank, in partnership with the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, brings you this first center of its kind for small entrepreneurs to develop and grow. Let's help you take your business to the next level of success. Contact Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center today. WhatsApp 876-997-3745.
Dysfunctional. It's a big word with a simple meaning: not operating normally or properly. And when used to describe families, it means just that. The family is not operating normally or properly. But that's a big deal. Because when the family is dysfunctional, so is the community, the country, and then the world. How did this dysfunction come about? And what's the result? What do Isaac, Joseph, King David, and maybe even Jesus' family have in common? How about some dysfunction? Is there any family that has no form of dysfunction? Host Pastor Heresy Blair and guest Reverend Dr. Garnet Roper will discuss the topic Dysfunctional Families during The Rock, Tuesday, May 4 at 10 a.m. right here on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. We are discussing the whole matter of the alleged corruption within the teaching profession. And we have online Mr. Jasford Gabriel, President of JTA, and Mr. Linvern Wright, President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Mr. Wright, before the break, you were passionately referring to the fact of the society becoming exam-driven.
Right, and many of us teachers too, and I think what we have to get to is a recognition that real and meaningful education is about how we teach and how we pass on those things that are essential for life. Too often we hear that, the student has how many subjects. That's a wonderful thing, and yes, we really have to say, okay, that's the end in terms of what would certify you. But in my mind, what qualifies you is the quality of the education that you got. You can be well certified and not qualified. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the certification. In fact, most times, because that's what gives status, that's what gives bragging rights, that's what gives all kinds of things. But what really matters is those things that go to the soul of our society, which would be what's your commitment, how committed are you to your work, how meticulous are you, how do you value bridging gaps in learning as a teacher? Those are the kinds of things that we really ought to be paying more attention to. And I dare say I know that there are a significant number of our teachers and principals who pay attention to that. But I just think we have to, get those in the fold who are having problems doing that kind of thing. And the final point I'd love to make is that we just have to lead that conversation in education. As teachers, I don't think we can genuflect to every discussion that's going to be about education when it's examination time. Right now in this COVID pandemic, what really we have a deficiency is teaching. CXC can give its exam in the same way. CXC has no encumbrances. And it is because we are so examination driven, we see that the exam really ought to remain the same even while instruction has not been what it is supposed to be. So I'm just using that to make a greater point, not to make any excuse. That where we ought to go is to look at the quality of teaching. Teachers ought to do it, society ought to do it, and I think maybe these things will be minimized.
Yeah, Mr. Gabriel. While we hear Mr. Wright on that note in regards to the nature of the exam-driven society and understanding of education, the report states that persons who do these things, the teachers, it's because their jobs are on the line. There's a bread and butter issue as well, is it not, Mr. Gabriel?
No, not in terms of how the teaching profession operates. I mean, we do not have payments by results right now, and the process.
That part of the report is incorrect.
Yeah, definitely. The process for a teacher to be separated from his or her job is one that is quite elaborate and would have to go through a long process. So that has never been a case. I guess persons can make a point in terms of wanting to protect their reputation in terms of having to get always getting high percentages and therefore having that kind of profile, but not in terms of securing job. But the truth is, so we have made the point that we cannot support this kind of thing. But the truth is, all professions have within it individuals that may not necessarily hold on to the highest values and so on that are required. The teaching profession is not exempt from that. The truth, though, is that every time we have these discussions, it puts a cloud over the vast majority of our teachers and administrators who toe the line, and work overtime and try to make sure that the students are given the best possible chance and experience in terms of both preparation for exams and preparation for life. Because in my experience, I moderated FBA before, and even at the school that I work, it goes the other way as well. I have had to call in teachers to let them know that I think, and parents have come to school to say the teachers have marked really hard. I've had to say to teachers, you need to be more lenient. You look on the standards and what is required. You go through the SBAs, and we find where students could definitely have gotten more grades and so on. And so it goes both ways. And then the truth is no. Like I've said before, given that since last year, prior to last year, they exceeded sampling, so they wouldn't have looked on all the SBAs. They would have taken samples to get an idea as to the marking standards. As of last year, they are doing every single sample. So that's why even talking to the teachers, some of them are saying some persons are interpreting the fact that we are able to give different, because how it works is that a student can submit the first draft, you give them back second draft, third draft, depending on how much time you have. They can submit it 4 or 5 times, and you're able to give them guidance, and they are able to make adjustments as they gather more information and get a better understanding of the concept. So by the time they submit it, they will be getting their best grade. That is not corruption. It's part of the whole process. And so some of the teachers are saying, but we could never be engaged in this because we know they are going to be moderated entirely anyway from CXC, and so it would necessarily be found out. So you do have a few individuals, but I want to make the point and continue, to just applaud the majority of our teachers and administrators who go over and beyond, to try to ensure that the students are properly prepared and get their best grades. But it's part of the reality that all professions face, and we just have to debunk that and encourage all of our members to observe the highest levels of probity.
Yeah. No, you see, gentlemen, corruption, as you know, is a serious allegation. And just yesterday, I was hearing of the possibility that in some of our schools, some teachers are bribed to submit fabricated grades. So the idea is that it has gone a notch up. As far as you know, are there any legal implications for such activity, Mr. Wright?
I'm not getting that point you're making.
Yeah, no, that even teachers are bribed to submit fabricated SBA grades, as well as the article that is there. I mean, what are legal implications of all that?
I don't know how widespread that is, and I'm not defending anything. But I think sometimes when these discussions come up, you hear the other little things that are happening, and I think I think a greater point is that I'd make 2 points now. A greater point is that there is something about our society that will be made manifest right across the board. But the bigger point I want to make is that, when I went to college, I had a vice principal, Eric Downey, who told me one thing. Well, he told us in a group one thing. He says that when society is in a state of flux, it is teachers who are supposed to maintain the constancy that's needed to society. And when society is too comfortable, teachers are the people who are supposed to be revolutionaries. Right? That's why I'm disappointed about some of the things that are happening. And it's almost like how it happens in the church. You have everybody doing their best, but people are going to be different. What must matter is that those of us who have strong values within education, and thank God there are many of us in the education system who have that, who will stamp out such things, right? And I know that those kinds of things that many principals have dealt with it. You don't come to the rest of the world to say, okay, this is happening. But at a level of your professionalism and your competence as a principal, you deal with this because you're running a school with certain values. And I know that these things are dealt with. Those are the kinds of people that we need to say, okay, these are the people we want and push. But as teachers, right, and I know many of us are, as teachers, we must understand that Jamaica is in many ways a sick society. And if we are going to be the doctors, we cannot be manifesting the same symptoms that we want to treat, or else people won't come to us. And I'm not happy about the fact that these things have happened, but the fact that we can have a discussion about it and we can be frank about it is, I think, where we ought to go. And what is important is that, my members as principals go back, just as members as teachers go back, and we more carefully look at what it is we're doing, more carefully scrutinize the work we are doing, because we cannot afford to have this kind of unscrupulous thing happening in the system and taint everybody who has been doing well. Right. And then people don't feel distressed and demotivated. More importantly, we cannot have this kind of thing being transmitted to our children, who in a Jamaica that we're all concerned about, we want it to change. So we have a responsibility to admit where we see some problems, and to retain our values and ensure and move on to ensure that we address them with the greatest of sincerity.
Mr. Gabriel, the JTA, seeing that you know of instances, what has been done in addressing these things?
Well, once we are aware of instances of this nature, if it is that the school is treating with it, then we only get involved to the extent as to whether the teacher's rights would have been infringed. But the process, there's a process there. If allegations can be proven that the school can treat with, and there are options in the regulations as to.
Are there legal implications, Mr. Gabriel?
Yes, there can be. But then again, it depends on how it is treated at the local level. And part of the bigger point I want to make, this is Love 101, and we also have to understand that, not condoning, but people will make mistakes, and especially when your back is against the wall, and you're especially the tightness of the economic space there and so on. I always say to son, Jesus Christ was God in the flesh. He had 12 disciples, only 12. And inside there was Judas and Peter. There's a strong message in that. You're talking of, it's impossible to have 20,000 members, and all 20,000 are going to be perfect and upholding all. That's what we would desire. It does not mean real life, though. It happens across all professions that we see it in the society. What we have to do is to keep reinforcing, imparting. And that's why I like the idea of the positive values and attitudes and the character formation as part of the curriculum. Because we need to have discussions surrounding these things and examples that students can see and follow, and just instead of just treating with the pedagogical things and trying to rush to complete a curriculum to do some exams and your future seem to be hinged on whether you pass 5, 6, 7, or 8. We take some time just to deal with values and attitudes and character formation and so on, and see how many more of our young people we can rescue as we go forward.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, we have to leave it there, but certainly we are happy for your coming on the program and seeking to discuss this issue. And at least what you have said and your whole posture on the matter seems to be the right one for this time. All the best. Thanks for your service to the nation. Have a productive day.
Thank you. Take care.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:30 and a half.
Tropical race 4 disease, TR4, is a soil-borne disease that has the potential to wipe out the Jamaican banana and plantain crops. Farmers and visitors must disinfect shoes and tools before entering farms daily. If your banana or plantain crops seem to be wilting, call the Banana Board at 876-922-5490 or 876-922-4327. Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health and the Environment.
Flow is connecting Jamaica to fiber-fast internet. Over 250 communities island-wide have received upgrades since last year, with many more to come. Flow is committed to giving more Jamaicans better internet access. And with over $40 billion invested, our network grows stronger each day. Visit a Flow store today or call 1-800-804-2994 to find out if you can upgrade to the fiber-fast experience on Jamaica's largest network.
Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here is somewhere you can share it. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, capsized party boat was not licensed. Operators will be charged, says Westmoreland Police Chief. We also see Jamaica imposing travel ban on Trinidad and Tobago. Also, hell and back. Fiancé ready to marry. Liberated cabin now focused on heavenly path. And in the Observer, more mental health services needed for abused children, experts say. And then Antigua PM warns of mandatory vaccination for nationals. And then a final news item, Indian virus surge spread to politics. Those are some of the major headlines in the newspapers. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What are your thoughts on the confession of some teachers to making adjustments to SBA assignments for students to earn better passes? Leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Dysfunctional. It's a big word with a simple meaning, not operating normally or properly. And when used to describe families, it means just that. The family is not operating normally or properly. But that's a big, big deal. Because when the family is dysfunctional, so is the community, the country, and then the world. How did this dysfunction come about? And what's the result? What do Isaac, Joseph, King David, and maybe even Jesus' family have in common? How about some dysfunction? Is there any family that has no form of dysfunction? Host Pastor Harris Steve Blair and guest Reverend Dr. Garnet Roper will discuss the topic Dysfunctional Families during The Rock, Tuesday, May 4 at 10 a.m. right here on Love 101, the family station.
the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Shivani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends, and perhaps even a voice note in regards to the question, what are your thoughts on the confession of some teachers making adjustments to SBA assignments for students to earn better passes? Shivani.
All right, here's a voice note.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to add to the discussion about this corruption. Well, with respect to the grades, fabrication of grades, that is wrong. But as Mr. Gabriel just said a while ago, when some of these children are given the SBA, they do not know what to do. And the teacher has to take it, instruct them. When they give them, they have to correct it, give it back to them, correct it again, give it back to them, correct it again, give it back to them several times, just to see and make sure that something substantial is done for CXC to get it as an SBA. So when the teacher says that teachers in the practical areas also are writing the SBS for the children, I don't think they're really writing it for them, but they have to be correcting and correcting, because if they should give up what the children have done at first draft, it would be mediocre. So I don't think that the teacher should have said that teachers are writing SBS. I have done that for quite a number of years, and it's just, you just have to help them correct, give them back, correct, give them back, until you can find something that is substantial enough to send up as SBA.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand that's the voice note coming from a teacher. We want to thank her for the feedback. Well, we now go into the second watch. And as reported in Loop, Jamaica, April 21, 2021, there are huge opportunities for Jamaicans to earn a share of the animation industry worldwide, says the country director for Caribbean countries and Latin America. She said the global animation industry is worth US $270 billion with a B, billion dollars, and has grown at a rate of 4% per annum for the past 5 years. Now, is Jamaica really poised and ready to take advantage of a share of those billions of dollars? What is the reality, and what are the opportunities available? To answer these and other related issues, we have joining us Mrs. Marjorie Newland, Project Manager, Youth Employment in Digital and Animation Industries, that's YEDAI, and Kevin Jackson, former President of the Jamaica Animation Nation Network, Animator and Filmmaker. Good morning to you both.
Hi, morning.
Good. Sir Jackson, that is Mrs. Newland with
Still
us?
trying to get Mrs. Newland.
Oh, okay. She's not on as yet. Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson still there?
Yeah, man, I'm still here.
All right. Well, let until we connect with Mrs. Newland. When we talk about animation, what really are we talking about, Mr. Jackson?
All right. So animation is basically moving images, moving pictures. You know, whereas with the movies, it's actual moving photographs. With animation, it's moving drawings or moving what we call 3D models. So, imaginative artwork that has motion to it. That is what animation is.
And that includes cartoons and all them things?
Yeah, man, that includes cartoons, those stuff you grew up on when you were watching Tiger Shark and Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry. All of those are animation. That's something that somebody had to hand draw or hand, move, etc.
I've always been fascinated with those things, right? One of my favorite was Bugs Bunny and Pink Panther.
Uh-huh.
How is it really done, though, Mr. Jackson? I mean, I know you can't show us because we're on the radio, but
Right. It's a very technical process. A lot of people mistakenly think that it's very easy, but it's not, because you have to, in the old days, what it was done was you had to draw a character many different times. Each second that you see on screen is 24 seconds or 24 drawings, right? Typically speaking. In some cases, in the cheaper cartoons, it's 12 drawings per second. So imagine drawing the same character over and over and over 1,000 times to get a few seconds on screen, right? And you have to be really good at art, especially back in those days, to ensure that the character's form stays the same throughout. Nowadays, the computer does help a lot in terms of there's 3D animation and cutout animation where the computer does a lot of the movement for you, but you still have to have a lot of technical skill to ensure that the designs are great, that the designs move well, etc. You know, it's a very technical work, and it involves so many different people. You know, the writer, the character designer, the background artist, the animatic designer, the animator. You know, there's so many different. There are people who just color. There's so many different facets to it.
And so Mr. Jackson, they have to the sound has to correspond with the movement.
Yeah, man, the sound has to correspond with the movement. You know, so lip syncing is very important.
Amazing. Now, how widespread is the animation industry in Jamaica at present, from your perspective?
Okay, so several different parts to that. It's increasing, it's growing. There are hundreds of persons who have done animation training courses, right? How many of those have actually gone on to become animators? Now is a different story, because a lot of people, once they've gone through the training, they realize that, boy, it's not for them because of how, you know, rigorous it is. But those that stick it out, of course, are the ones that are really passionate about it and love it. In terms of widespread, I would say it's still not very widespread in terms of the jobs. You have a few studios like Listen Me Caribbean, Night Vision Media, Liquid Light Digital, which they are more of a live action and visual effects company, but they have an animation company called Jamra Studio that is doing very well. There's Castle Productions, and that basically rounds up how many studios. And it sounds like a lot, but then when you think about how many people are graduating, it's a lot more people that are graduating. You know, and what's really holding us back is getting a lot of the overseas jobs. The local jobs, they're increasing, but usually the amount of money you can get for a local job is not that much. And, you know, it's still not a lot to really sustain a lot of these studios. But through projects like the Yedai project, which when Marjorie comes on, she can tell you more about, one of their main focuses is employment. They do a lot of training and a lot of exposure for Jamaica to overseas, but they're also, them along with the Jamaica Animation Nation Network are looking to attract more jobs to Jamaica so that this can be, you know, a very lucrative, industry.
Yeah.
So there are challenges, but it's progressive.
Yes, understand. Mrs. Newland is now on. Mrs. Newland, welcome.
Good morning.
Yes, morning. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Hi, Kevin. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Marjorie.
All right. Now, Mrs. Newland, your organization is what is it now? Project Manager Youth Employment in Digital and Animation Industries. What's that about?
Correct. Okay, so this is a project that was conceptualized and implemented in collaboration with the World Bank, starting in 2014. And the objective of it really is to sort of increase the skills base and employability of young people.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Newland. My apologies. We are on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
You're tuned to Love 101 at 7:45.
If you're a farmer or a fisher folk, this one's for you. Sagicor AgriCare Plan. With AgriCare Plan, you can get affordable insurance coverage for you and your family. life insurance, critical illness coverage, and health insurance for as little as $3,900 every 3 months. Visit your nearest Rada or Fisheries office or text AgriCare to 876-322-2384 to apply. Farmers and fisherfolk, get the insurance coverage your family deserves today with Sagicor AgriCare Plan.
From the day the best dressed chicken is hatched, it is fed right with a healthy diet of grains, seeds, and corn. Jamaica's only chicken raised with no antibiotics ever. For years, the best dressed chicken has been innovating to achieve this very important promise and commitment to you and your family. Look for our no antibiotics ever promise on every package.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And we are discussing the animation industry, realities and opportunities. And we have online Mr. Kevin Jackson, former president of the Jamaica Animation Nation Network, and Mrs. Marjorie Newland, project manager of youth employment in digital and animation industries. Yes, Mrs. Newland, you're telling us about your organization.
Yeah, so I was saying that we have a mandate to upscale young people in the digital and animation areas and to provide employment opportunities where we can. We have just hosted Kingston, as you would know.
Right.
This is actually our biggest endeavor in terms of providing employment opportunities overseas for our animation stakeholders. As I just heard Kevin say a while ago, that there are jobs on the ground in Jamaica, but they're not very high-paying jobs, and there are not a lot of jobs, and so we have to be looking outwards all the time for outsourcing work to come to Jamaica, which will give our animators some better opportunities. Kevin also mentioned that there is a large and growing pool of animators in Jamaica. We have students graduating from 7 training institutions ranging from vocational through to tertiary. And there is also an animation and gaming program that commenced at the CXC level in 2016. So we have some youngsters coming up through that as well, and will enter the field and the workforce if they have not already done so. So there's a large pool, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of talent, and the key thing now is to find the work. So this was really basically the thrust of Kingston. You probably would have heard some of the reports coming out of Kingston. We had it's really a great big networking event.
That was 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Newland.
That's correct, from the 21st to the 25th of April.
I was on, I actually logged on.
Oh, great.
Yeah, man. Interesting stuff.
Great. Right. Even for me, who has been working with it for a little time.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as long as Kevin, but I've had a little bit of exposure.
yeah. Fascinating stuff. Mr. Jackson, what does it take to become an animator? What are the prerequisites or qualifications needed, if you care to tell us?
Well, the very first requisite is definitely patience. And the second one is definitely resilience. But aside from that, technically speaking, it would be good if you have art skills coming in. Some people will tell you don't need art to get into animation these days, but I definitely beg to differ. I lecture as well in animation programs at the University of the West Indies and Hard BTDI. And I can tell you, the drawing students always do better because drawing gives you a better understanding of anatomy and making your characters feel realistic. So art is definitely somewhere to start. Now that we have a CXC animation and gaming program, I definitely say that going into that will give you a head start as well. But really and truly, you have to have that patience and persistence. It is very key. A lot of people, even with great art skills, come in, and when they realize how technical it is, they drop out. So you have to have that stick-to-itiveness to it. And you have to be very observant.
So any productions of note in Jamaica in regards to animation?
Put it this way, I would say yes, and I say yes from the standpoint that Kingston has showcased quite a lot of good animations, especially this year. And even outside of Kingston, for example, there's a gentleman named Patrick Meikle. He just won 3 awards at the Lignum Vitae Film Festival, which will be featured on our website soon, animationjamaica.com.
What's that Lignum Vitae Film Festival?
Lignum Vitae Film Festival is held by Northern Caribbean University, NCU. They have this festival annually. I think it was their 12th. They call it their 13th, but they didn't really have one last year. It got cancelled. So technically it's their 12th. And he won Best Animation, Best Producer, and Best Post-Production. He also won a competition overseas called Engage Art Competition. I believe he had won or was a finalist. There is Cam Adventures of Cam Space Explorer, which won first place at Kingston in 2018, I believe. 2019, sorry. And that had landed Listen Me Caribbean, a project with Sesame Street. There's the second place winner of that same year, 2019, was Agwe, a production that I was the animation director on, and a lot of Jamaican animators worked on it. And that is now streaming on Quelly TV, KWELI-TV.com. And when it released, it was, I think, the 14th most popular content on that platform, competing with other content from all over the world. So we do have some notable ones. I mean, nothing that is going to be like big on screen yet, but we're heading there. We're taking those steps. We're on that journey of 1,000 miles, and we're taking it a mile at a time.
Yeah. Are there some advertisements that we see on television that
Yes. So most notably, I mean, I don't like to toot my own horn because it seems a little self-serving, but I think most people know the Nutty of Jamaica commercials. I don't know if you've ever seen those animations.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So I did those. There's one on television now that was done by some UTech students, which is, I don't know if you've been seeing it during the news where they're talking about abuse to children.
Oh, yes.
You've been seeing that some UTech students did that.
UTech, okay.
Under the tutelage of Roshane and Loshane Jones, who are teachers at the University of Technology, who have also come through YEDA's trainer program. You might know the CVM animation Captain Stay Home during the COVID.
Yes, the COVID thing there,
so that was done by a local animator. Akeem, don't remember his last name right now, but an animator who is from Portland and works at CVM.
Wonderful.
So there are definitely commercials on. I've seen quite a lot more commercials on television these days.
Yes. Mrs. Newland, tell us more about the challenges associated, therefore, with the profession and vocation.
Wow. I don't know if I'm the appropriate person. Kevin will be better placed to answer that question, but I will try.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is something that he mentioned earlier about people not really appreciating the value of what they're getting from an animated product. The amount of time, the amount of effort, the skill level that has to go into it, and therefore the remuneration is not as good as it ought to be, because I think basically people are not truly appreciative of what goes into the making of even the shortest commercial or the shortest production. So that's one of the big challenges. And as you know, in this environment where young people are looking to be self-supporting, to help their families, and so it's really difficult for them to spend a lot of time on this and not be able to make it into their main earning stream, so to speak. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges. What we have really been trying to do on the YEDAI project is to build our foundation. So we have done work on the curricula at the schools. We have done a lot of training, separate and apart from the training that is done in the training institution. But I think what the most important contribution that we have made to the industry is to have provided exposure for a lot of the animation members of the animation community, both by financing their participation in international trade shows and providing them with the exposure and the networking that provides, And also, of course, from this end, where Kingston has reached a huge audience, way beyond our imagination when it started in 2013.
Yeah.
And we actually had registration of close to 5,000 people on the platform for Kingston this year, which means that people are sort of, paying attention to what's going on here. And
sorry, Mrs. Newland, it's something that can be done from home, right?
Yes, exactly. I was just coming to that. So one of the things that we noted was, we're sort of a little bit hesitant about the digital age. Not the animators, because they are well versed in it, but some of my generation, for example, is sort of creeping into the digital age. But I think that COVID, if there's anything good to be said about it, is that it has really forced us into the digital age, whether we like it or not. For example, this interview, normally I would have been having to come into your studio at
not necessarily, but I understand what you mean. I'm not in studio, so I'm
just saying under normal circumstances, that is how it would have been, So we all have to learn to change, and because of this change, what it has done is that it has opened up additional frontiers, because now the communication across borders has become that much easier. And work can be shared, productions can be done using digital media. No need for anybody to travel. No need for anybody to sit face to face in a studio necessarily. Of course, there are some aspects of production that really do require on the ground and so on. But a fair amount of the work, and Kevin, you can tell me if I'm wrong here. I think a fair amount of the work can be done digitally and remotely.
Yeah. Mr. Newland, we are about to wrap up in terms of time. The future of this industry in Jamaica, and I just want you put in, those who are listening who are now interested in it. What can they do? What should they do?
Okay, so I think the future is looking good. I think we have attempted to set a sound foundation on this project, which unfortunately winds up in July of this year. But the foundation is there. The Jamaica Animation Nation Network is a great organization for people to link to in terms of future development. We do work with Jam Pro. There are opportunities with JBDC, with DBJ, Caribbean Development Bank, and a host of other stakeholders. So people need to just be paying attention to the opportunities that present themselves. Continue working on the quality of their products or their IPs, as we say in common parlance in the industry, and just be the best animator that you can.
Okay.
Because unless you do that, you won't get work, and that is really the ultimate goal.
Okay, half a minute, Mr. Jackson.
I agree with everything that Marjorie is saying. The future is definitely looking bright, and people just need to pay attention to the opportunities, because the opportunities are growing all the time. I would say to anyone who wants to go into animation, join the Jamaica Animation Nation Network, because a lot of industry information is shared there, and opportunities, as well as look at the different schools at University of the West Indies, CARMAC, UTEC, Hearts, VTDI, Excelsior College, Edna Manley, all of these. What's that? Right. All of these places have animation programs at different levels. So there's an entry point for everybody.
Okay. All right. I want to thank you both for joining us this morning. Informative and insightful discussion. Have a productive day.
All right. Same to you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, thank you.
Right,
all right. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information, how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Cassie Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, reminding you to be purposeful, faithful, thankful, and watchful as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
Need financial breathing space? Switch to a Sagicor Bank mortgage and get a